Oh, almost missed the chair.
It's a good start.
It was going to be. All right. We're going to go for take 2 of this whole Jeremy interviews a fellow cover band musician. And again, I didn't have to go very far because, well, he stares at my butt a lot. Probably, besides my mom, you have stared at my butt more than any human on planet Earth.
I always know when you're going to go for those high notes.
That's right.
The cinch.
I also can tell when I'm going to hit him or not. I can do
cinch
better.
A little harder.
So, for anybody, drummer of the Rumors, Jerry, I call him Boom Boom, Mr. McBroom. Now, Bekka's going to join us because they're BFFs and they can't not be around. So, the cool thing about Jerry is Jerry has a real big kind of story that people may not know. So, first question is, how'd you get playing music? How'd you get into it?
Okay. Well, I got my first drum set when I was 6 years old, and that came because I went to a church as a really young kid, and the church had a drummer, and I was like mesmerized, like a moth to a flame. And I was like, if I can ever do anything, I want to be doing that. And that sort of started me on the path.
So when did you realize that the drums were very heavy and bulky and that you would have to carry those around forever? And what made you continue to play the drums after lugging all that stuff around?
Man, it's terrible. I mean, the older that I'm getting, the worst of a decision that seems, really. There's a dude I know that is a drummer in Nashville, and he's like, drummer Bill Thornton. And then in parentheses he says, "What was he thinking?" Which I totally get. But it's kind of like, you love the person that you love. I just love the instrument. There's everything about me screams the drums. So it is a necessary evil.
Awesome.
At some point, yeah.
All right. So coming up through the church, did you play church band first, or did you go garage band? Or
No. I mean. I'll get super cheesy on you and whatever, but the way that it worked was that when I was young, my family couldn't afford a drum set, and I wanted one terribly. And I remember like having this conversation with God where I was like, look, if I get a drum set, I will use it for the powers of good. And so not long after that, my grandmother sent us $80 in the mail from Texas, and we bought like a used drum kit from the Bargain Mart at the time, and it was an absolute piece of crap, but I set that thing up in my room and played along to every song that I could think of that I loved, and learned how to play drums on that kit. And so I started out playing in my room, and then I started playing for this like children's choir when I was super young at my church. There was the real drummer that was playing for all the really cool stuff, and I played for the children's choir. And then wasn't long after that I started trying to hook up with friends and play.
So what was the first song on the Bargain Mart drum set that you banged on?
Okay, well, one of my biggest influences when I was a kid would have been Kiss. So my dad had this old reel-to-reel tape deck, and it had like a microphone with it, like this plastic microphone. And so I wired that reel-to-reel tape deck into my stereo. And so I could play like a record, and the music would go to one side, like the right side of that reel-to-reel. And then I had that mic in my bedroom just out somewhere, and I would play drums to that, with headphones on, and then I could record myself on the left track of the reel-to-reel. And so I would play all these Kiss songs, and I was playing Foreigner songs, Feels Like the First Time, and all that stuff. And then I would shut that down, and I'd go listen to it, and I'd get the balance between the album on that was recorded on that reel-to-reel on the right side, and my drums, and I'd bounce them together where it sounded like I was the guy. And anywhere where I wasn't 100% on, I was like, got to do it again. And so I'd erase it, and I'd get back there, and I would start it again. And that was the way I learned. Yeah.
I feel like every drummer that I've ever played with always says, like, it's Kiss. Like, Kiss
Really?
is the band. Every, like, honest Sam, so I'm talking to you. Like, every drummer, Like they're like Kiss, Kiss, Kiss.
Man, and here's the thing about Kiss. Kiss, like when you're 12, 11, 12, 13, you only know what you know, right? And so Kiss at that stage was like the coolest band ever, and a lot of that was the theatrics. The drummer, Peter Criss, was not like technically a really great drummer, really. But man, he played for the songs in a way that I was like, well, if that drum part is not a part of that song, then it is a whole different song. And so it just informed the way that I wanted to play from that point on. And so I wanted to play songs. I can super appreciate, and I even got into this stage where I was trying to play the most technically difficult stuff possible. I was listening to Frank Zappa, and I was listening to these super progressive bands like UK, and I was a big Rush fan, and I was playing all this. I was listening to all this technical stuff, and I was sitting with a drum pad and all this stuff. And there was this period where I felt that was important to kind of develop drumming vocabulary. But man, it is not where my heart is. My heart is to play songs. And so once I got old enough to where I could sort of let that go and go, actually, I want to play songs. Life got a lot better for me. I feel like I was more successful than trying to play these odd meter things that I was learning from King Crimson and all that.
So you're coming up, doing that good stuff. You kind of go from you're kind of a superstar in a way, because you've actually. I'm a weirdo because I feel like your range of superstardom happens not because of how much money you make, not because of your hits, not because of anything of that. It's when somebody sets your crap up for you and you just walk out and you're there to do something.
It is nice.
So you've hit that. To me, that's a stardom thing. Like you did some touring stuff,
right,
with Bride, right?
Right.
So tell people about Bride and your
and
your situation with them.
There was a Christian rock band that was based out of Louisville, Kentucky, that had a very minimum amount of success, and I was familiar with who they were. I didn't really care for them too much. But they lost their drummer, and they were friends of mine. Some of them were friends of mine, and they lost their drummer, and they came into Mom's Music where I was working at the time behind the drum counter, and they asked me to brainstorm with them a drummer that might be a fit for them. And I'm trying to think of like these heavy metal double bass drummers that would be a fit for them. And they were like, "What about you? Would you be interested in playing with us?" And I'm thinking, well, this is not going to be a good fit because I don't really care for the kind of music that they do. But for whatever reason, I was young enough and I wanted to do something kind of original music-wise. And so I decided to hook up with them and do some rehearsals. And we did some rehearsals for some original stuff, some brand new stuff they were writing. And I was actually able to sort of infuse my own style into it. And so, super long story short, we actually recorded a couple of those songs. They were getting ready to be dropped by the record label. They were on this really small-time record label. They were getting ready to be dropped from that label. And to recoup some money, they were going to do like a best of Bride record, which is hilarious because there's no best of. But to boost sales of that for those like 3 or 4 hardcore Bride fans at the time, they wanted to have a couple of brand new songs on it. Well, I recorded those songs with that band, and both of those songs went #1 on Christian rock radio. And because of that, those 2 #1 songs, not only did the band not get dropped, but they got bought out by this larger label called Star Song, and we got an actual record deal. And we went in almost immediately and started recording this other album, and that album had a pretty good amount of success. And we got on a tour with Stryper, which was a much larger Christian band at the time.
I love Stryper.
Oh man, Stryper, they're fantastic. And then, and what was great about that is they were in their huge tour bus, and we were behind them in this minivan with all of our stuff crammed into it, and we were in there like a cocoon. I mean, you couldn't see out any of the windows because of gear and t-shirts we were selling. And
they were lounging.
I mean, talk about, and we were all sleeping in the same hotel room, and like me and the bass player were sharing a bed. It was absolutely horrific. But we were on tour with Stryper, and that was fun. But anyway, we did that tour, and that got us a buzz in the Christian rock world. And then we recorded the next record, which was really just a great record. It was full of really good songs, and there was already this buzz happening with us. And when we did that record, things kind of exploded, and we ended up being the #1 Christian hard rock band in the world at that time. And we had like 18 #1 songs and got to play some really cool shows and did a bunch of tours, and we started playing internationally and all that stuff. So that's the success that Jeremy's talking about that. And I did that for a number of years, but it's really hard on family life to be touring that much. And so finally there was a time when I decided I probably needed to get out of it and start looking for something different. And so I got like a day gig at the church that I'm working at now as a youth minister and working with young adults and the music and whatever. But of course I still wanted to play. So I was looking for local gigs that I could do that felt like they were a fit.
So is that when you jumped in with the Rumors, or were you in with somebody before your first tour duty with the Rumors?
I played in some really good blues bands. The thing about blues bands, with some really great musicians too. But there's not any real sort of audience for that's going to pay any kind of money. And so if you're going to do blues, which I totally respect, you got to do it for the love of the money, man. And truth be told, at least for a drummer, from my standpoint, is that a lot of the blues stuff for drums is super redundant. And so if you play like a couple of feels, you can pretty much play that stuff up. That sounds terrible. There's great blues drummers. But for me, the way that I understood my role in the blues, it started to feel boring. So I started looking for other outlets. And that's when I was in a really good blues band called Hellfish at the time with a guy named Jimmy Gardner, who is my absolute hero. He's a frontman and bass player, and he's dead now, sadly. But I was in a band with him and got the call to do the Rumors. And I was like, Jimmy, I love you so much, but the Rumors have called, and it's a really good opportunity for me, so I'm gonna have to quit. And then Jimmy, he was like, listen, man, I totally understand. We're gonna be in this for the long haul, and we'll play together down the road. And then not much longer after that, he died from an unexpected heart attack, which is heartbreaking. But yeah, that's how I ended up in the Rumors.
All right, so you're one of the few people I get to say this question to, because it's one of my favorites, because it's going to be different almost for everybody. So what's your favorite venue in your superstardom of Bride that you played?
Oh gosh. Well, when we would go to Brazil, we would play these huge soccer stadiums, and there were like 120,000 people, and that's really fun because of the experience of it. And so you almost have to put that on the list just because of the experience that it is. But it's not the most fun. My most fun experiences are more intimate kind of experiences where the place isn't so gigantic. So I'm going to say there was a place in Oklahoma somewhere called the Warehouse, and we would just pack that place out, and it seems like we would play there when we were on tour. It would be during the summer, and we would play there, and I mean it'd be so hot in there that the walls would sweat. I mean, beads of water are running down the walls, and people are just soaked, and they're just crammed in there, and it felt like energy was just bouncing around there like it was electric. So that was a fun place.
What about favorite venue in our neck of the woods, Southern Indiana, Louisville?
Oh man.
And don't hurt. There's no harm feelings.
There's so many good places that we played that I really like, and they all have something about them that I really do like. But like the thing that I think I'm going to say that is the most recent is going to be the Double Barrel. I think I like the vibe of what Double Barrel is. It's not very big, but when you get a lot of people in there, it feels like energetic. And so something about that is resonating with me right now.
There used to be a lot of, when I first came up, there was a lot of shotgun bars.
Yeah.
And it seems like here in the last 10 years, it's become wider bars.
Yeah.
And that's one reason Double Barrel I think is cool, because it's just a shotgun.
Old school shotgun.
It is. It kind of just shoots straight down, and there's really no place for people to hide when it is crowded.
Yeah.
So you kind of it's just a sea of heads that's out there, which is cool.
And plus, like I'm one of those guys that I like vibey stuff. I like to soak in And so that place is kind of dark with the cool light fixtures and all that stuff. I like all of it. Like if I was going to decorate a room up, it might look something
Similar to that.
like that, yeah. And so I like the vibiness of it. So Double Barrel, you guys are doing good work. I like it.
All right. What's your favorite song that you do currently? Oh, that's your favorite song.
Okay.
That if we came to the band and we said, you said this one cannot go because it's going to happen. What was yours?
Start Me Up.
That's so funny. That is hilarious.
I love it.
That's hilarious. Okay, all right. Listen, I'm going to say something that is 100% true. This is 100% true.
I'm scared.
I am currently in the band with my favorite singer of all time.
Shut your mouth.
No, I'm
Thank
not
you.
kidding. I'm not kidding.
Thank you.
I love you too. I love you too. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a band with a different singer at all. And so to be in a band that has your favorite singer, I mean, and I'm talking about like professional, like people that I'm listening. I'm totally serious. I am jazzed about it every time we gig because I'm like, well, I know it's going to be really good because we've got a killer singer. It's going to be so good. And so probably my favorite song right now is definitely going to be Respect, may be one of them because I know that's going to bring it. I think it's going to be so strong that's going to be good. But it's just I'm jazzed to be in the band with like my favorite singer.
That might be the nicest thing anyone has ever said.
I'm
And
not
to
kidding
me.
about. Listen, and I love Jeremy's my bro. I love Jeremy. And listen, man, this dude has all kinds of gifts that are helping us like crazy right now. I love Jeremy. But my favorite singer is Bekka. I love her. My God. And listen, I'll just go ahead and say it. You've got this star quality about you that I think is super electric. And so when we kick into something and we're all on that stage together, and I get to sort of sit back there and because drumming is like an accompanying sort of instrument. It is not going to grab people's attention. If it is grabbing attention, in my mind, you're probably stepping out a little too far. You need to support what's happening up front. And so when I get to sort of be in that accompanying thing and know things are going to rock, it is really a great seat to have. So I'm really happy with the way things are going right now, for sure.
Least favorite song?
Start Me Up.
Mustang Sally. No. Oh, God. Mustang Sally. And this is going to be a new one.
Wagon Wheel.
Nope.
Oh.
I actually like Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
I do. There's something about the feel of that I'm not getting tired of. Sunspot Baby, I almost can't stand. But I know it's new for us, and people seem to like it.
It's
so.
2 songs I sing. That's great.
I did not put that together.
Couldn't have.
I did not put that together.
I'm going to be really honest. Because it was your idea for us to do Think, and you were like, oh, let's do Think. And I'm like, Jerry is literally trying to kill me. Like, he is trying to
I know
kill
it's
me
not easy. I know.
because it is the hardest thing that I sing.
I know it. And, I mean, you won't cheap out on either. Like, at the
No.
end, when it's got all that crazy stuff at the end and you're making that happen, I know in my heart, I'm like, that's not easy to do. She's doing this, and it's not easy to do. So I know.
Because I love you.
But I love it. Well, I love the song. I love the fact that we can do it. So
Why Mustang Sally? I would think that's high on a lot of people's totem pole of...
here's the truth of that, I think. Like, if I listen to it and I listen to the original version, I think that it's groovy in a way that I can super respect. I think it's been bastardized in a way where it just doesn't really resemble the way that it was done originally. And I think, like, for me, I've played it incorrectly in bands that didn't play it correctly for so many years that now I just think, oh, it's been ruined. I don't want to do it. I just feel like we can't do it justice in a way. So that's where I'm at on that. It's not the song so much as the way bands do it, really.
That's a thing, though. Because there's a whole lot of people in the world that will even be in cover band music that will try to put their little artistic spin on something, which I think is cool to do. I think some people can get away with it. Some people cannot.
That's exactly right.
And there are certain things that, especially with Mustang Sally, and you're right, that it gets to where it's not. There are songs that I listen to on the radio that we do, and I'm like, that ain't how it goes.
I know. That's me too.
Not even close.
I'm like, we better turn that off or I'm going to relearn it the right way and screw us up. Yeah.
Which I think's hilarious. But it's like we do Footloose and cut about 3 minutes of the whole song out.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, we basically ruined that song.
I'll go, that's not the right words. What are they singing?
Again, it's one Jeremy sings, so it's definitely not the right words when he sings it. All right, best concert you've ever been to?
Been to?
Yes, you were in the crowd.
Okay,
watching it.
All right, okay. First of all, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. I went and saw in Cincinnati in a small club, and oh my God, that there was like, if you're familiar with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, Sharon Jones is dead now. She died of cancer, sadly. But she was such a powerhouse performer. And they were doing this old school sort of Motown sound stuff. It was their own original stuff. But their stuff was so good, and she was such a powerhouse. And she like brought a party. Like when she was on stage, she basically was like, well, I'm bringing the party, and this is going to... And so that whole place was hopping and dancing, and I was like, well, it doesn't really get any better than this. So that was a concert that I love. I've seen huge concerts. I've seen U2 at Soldier Field and all this stuff, and those are always fun events. But I like concerts that I feel like was a sort of a communal shared experience, and so I really like the smaller venues. So I'm going to say that Sharon Jones thing, and then when we went to see Maggie Rose, that was
so fun.
That was super fun for me. I was with people that I really loved, listening to music that I really liked, being played at a high level in a super small place where we could stand there right in front of the stage.
Who was that band that opened for her that was awesome?
Them Vibes.
They were fantastic.
Oh my gosh. So that whole night for me is in one of my top 5.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is my favorite question that I get to ask. Who's an artist, dead or alive, you get to have one beer with? You get to ask them anything. You don't even have to talk music. You can ask them about their favorite football team or something. But who, dead or alive, who do you get to sit for one beer with?
Man, that's a hard question. I think I'm going to say Dave Grohl. And the reason I'm going to say Dave Grohl is, for one, he's a drummer, and he's a drummer that I really respect. He's super musical, and I mean, I would prefer to hear him play over Taylor Hawkins for sure. He's just one really talented guy. He's a great songwriter, and I think he's probably got some smart business sense about him. But I think the stories you could tell about the time he was in Nirvana, kind of soaking all that stuff up as kind of a young guy, and then from that to where he is now, I would sit and have a beer and listen to some stories from him.
I'd say he could tell a story or 6.
I bet he could. Yeah.
He seems like a legit dude, though.
Like, well, that's part of what I mean. Like, if you ever watch any of those YouTube videos where he's invited that 14-year-old kid up to do this or that, I think it's so ballsy to take those opportunities and then bring somebody on that could seriously go south.
Yeah.
And have the courage to bring them up, and whether it goes south, it's going to be fine. I think he's just a great lover of music and people and that whole deal, and so I really like him because of that.
An artist that's dead that you regret not getting to go to their concert?
Petty.
You never saw Petty?
I never saw him, no. And I think he's like an American treasure.
We would always say that when Petty's gone, we're going to miss him more than what we realized what he was. And I find myself more and more just listening, because I would not listen to like American Girl or all that stuff. Right. And you just listen to it, and it's like, what a genius.
Right.
After school, I'll put on like Pandora, Petty, and just listen to it when I'm working. I mean,
like, I think for me, like that Wildflowers album, basically from front to back is a work of genius. I think everything, the way it sounds, the songs, the understated way that it's played, I think it's just crafted so well. But that's there's so many other things that he's done. That Refugee album was really the thing that put him on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came out, I was like, I have no idea who this ugly dude is that really can't sing very well, but he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was just so taken in by the songs. That whole "Here Comes My Girl" thing where he talks through the verses. I mean, it's genius. And then he gets to the verses, and the hook of that verse is just fantastic. He's really an American treasure.
Yep. Who's an artist that's living that you want to go see?
I feel like I really need to go see Paul McCartney. And I don't know if it'll happen at this point. I've never seen him. And like I was really late to the whole Beatles thing.
I would say I was too.
Yeah, and now I listen to the Beatles and I can really appreciate what it was about them and what it is about them that is so influential. But when I was younger, the Beatles they had kind of came and gone, and somehow I don't know why they got lumped into the kind of music that I thought my parents might like, and I didn't give it the due that it deserved. So now that I've come lately to it, and I can hear all the amazing influence that it's had on popular culture, and I was able to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and sort of like be among all these Beatles relics and sort of soak in the mojo of that. That feels like something I need to go experience.
Paul's because I've seen Paul 2 or 3 times now, and it's every time that you're there, it's a different concert experience than you go to watch Foo Fighters or somebody like that. You're really there to. It's almost like he's there reading his book, and you're just there and it's because he doesn't want to play yesterday. He doesn't want to play that crap,
right.
But he's playing it, and I think you can tell he still loves to play it and to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I really respect about him is the fact that he's been doing it for as long as he has. He's as old as he is, and he's still he could totally rest on that, and his place in music history is secured forever.
Oh,
you know what I mean? There's nothing that he needs to do anymore to sort of prove he is who he is, but he's still writing songs and making albums and stuff. For me, that is the true measure of an artist. That even though they don't have to do it, that's just who they are, so he's going to do it. And so I know other people, friends of mine, who are like, I don't care anything about any Paul McCartney stuff that comes out anymore because I only care about the stuff that he did with the Beatles or whatever. I think, man, this is who that guy is.
Yeah.
It's just in his DNA to write songs and to make music. And if he's as old as he is and he's still going to do it, what a model for us that are still trying to do it.
And the cool thing about it on some of those new songs is if you would take his name off of it and put Maroon 5 or Bruno Mars and not change a thing, not even let him sing it, and put it out there, it would be a #1 hit on radio today.
We went to see him last summer. My first time ever seen him.
Yeah.
And it was great. And we were listening to the new stuff, and he has like 2 new songs that I really, really enjoy. And I was like looking around, and the whole audience was just sitting there. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and they're such good songs. And he even made the comment. He even said, I know that you all aren't here to hear this stuff, but I'm gonna play it anyway because I want to. And he like went into one of his new songs.
But the thing, to be fair, when I've seen him though, is there's a lot of sitting down because it's hard to explain. You're observing greatness before you. You're watching Beethoven play, and I think people most concerts you go to, 50% of the people are there to get as smashed as they can because it's their one outlet.
Right.
For that week or that month or that year to go hang out with friends, have girls' night, have a guys' trip, and they just get slaughtered. And they're there to hear those 1 or 2 songs.
Right.
But then everybody that's there at Paul, it's kind of, if you look around, you'll see people and you're like, everybody understands that there's something bigger than a concert happening while you're sitting there watching it. And it's soaked in. And every time I've been to see him, there's always some kind of like, oh, there's a drunken person puking or pissing in a corner or doing this or doing that. And I've never had that at Paul. It's like church. People are sitting in their pews watching the guy speak the words of his Beatles songs, and
Yeah.
everybody are there listening to a message.
Yeah.
I was a little let down because I was wanting everybody, because you know me, I like to
You want to hype it up?
I like to get after it,
Yeah.
you know, and it wasn't the crowd's vibe. So I was like, come on, let's go, you know.
But I don't.
They never got there.
Yeah.
I don't think they do on purpose, because they're there like
They're so. Do you think it's that they're so appreciative of what it is that's happening that they're just dialed into that without the party atmosphere of it?
I think they're there watching a Beatle, and they know it's living history of what that is. To where even if you go, like if you go to a Springsteen concert, Springsteen is there to kick you in your teeth for 3 hours and not ever let you down.
Right.
Paul has the same material and the same stuff to do that. But I think that's the difference, even of level between like Paul's up here and Springsteen's here. I think people are there to watch.
Yeah.
That dude they can literally say, I watched him play Blackbird.
Yeah.
I focused on his hands.
You're right.
And
I want to soak this in.
Yes.
That that's one of the things that I think would be so important about seeing him, is that we've lived with those Beatles songs for so many years. You know, that I think we can almost start to take them for granted, because they're there's such an ingrained part of our psyche at this point. But then to go to a concert like that and see the guy, he's the guy that actually come together and came up with, you know, song after song after song that is just a part of our cultural identity. Basically, he's the guy. That I think it would be. I think you can almost miss that if you don't really intentionally be like, well, it came from him. That actually came from him.
One of the cool things, because I've always made set lists, even when I was a kid, I would always make set lists for some weird reason. Like I always just would make them, and I've always thought there's a handful of humans that when they make their set list, they're like, oh. Well, I may not be able to play A Hard Day's Night tonight because it doesn't fit with the hits that are in here.
Right.
Like I've got 2 new songs. So does Queenie Eye, that's new, that's just out on my new album. Can I get rid of We Will Work It Out? Or can I? I mean, just the stuff that's left on the table of not playing it at a Paul show is kind of.
Oh man.
There's
way more stuff he can't play than he can play.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear this one and this one, and he didn't play those, and I was like, dang. But I mean, I heard yesterday, and I heard
like he didn't do Solar Standing There,
right?
Which he's done in the past.
Like,
but it's
for that to be your own song that you have to leave on the table because you just don't have time to slam it in is crazy.
And and I've always I've grown up a Dave guy. I've been to 70 Dave shows. I've heard Crash like 5 times. Which, for me, as being a super fan, that doesn't bother me at all. Because I would rather hear song 12
like the deep cut.
Yeah, because I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
I literally will. I'll look at them when we're there. I'm like, I'm gonna go pee. Bye.
Yeah.
And I'll be back in 8 minutes when this one's over with. But then there's stuff that I will run and get as close as I possibly can if it's a song that I haven't heard in a long time, or if it's something.
Oh yeah.
But to see that with Paul and just to kind of think like, man, you might never be able, because he has so many hits that dude has to do.
Yeah.
You might not ever get to see all of this stuff, even if you go 70 times to see, because he doesn't switch it up. They play that same that concert's the same in Atlanta as it is in Louisville.
Yeah.
So
some of that stuff he may never play again.
No.
You know? I mean, iconic stuff. Maybe he's just like, well, I'm not gonna play that.
Just don't love it.
It's the life of a billionaire.
I'll say.
All right, here's probably the hardest question I have to ask you. The Jerry McBroom private airplane crashes on the. Here's the next problem I have, because somebody commented on this. Is it a desert island or a deserted island?
Deserted island.
I agree.
I have always said the desert island. So, and I got yelled at for that. So, if you...
I think it would be an island that's a desert.
Like the dude that called me out on it, he goes, where are they landing? In the Sahara? Like...
I hate to say it, but I think he may have been correct. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Well, all right. So, on the isolated sandy plateau where your airplane lands...
On the desert island.
That's right. You have to take one album.
Oh, my
That's all you get.
Oh, no.
and it can't be a greatest hits.
Yeah. Oh man, that's almost an unfair question.
The cool thing about it is you're going to give an answer, and maybe 10 minutes later, like on your drive home, you're
That's
like,
exactly
no,
right.
it's
I was like,
one.
I'll call you back. I'll say, can we make an edit? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna say the first thing that came to my mind, which is probably gonna be wrong.
There is no wrong answer.
No, because there's so many important albums that are like I'm thinking. First of all, I'm thinking like there's this Aretha Franklin live album that I'm like, well, that has to be the one because I love every song on that, and it's Aretha Franklin. But there's I may say Bringing Down the Horse by the Wallflowers. And I love that record, and the reason that I love that record is because I think the songwriting is great. I think the songs are crafted so well. I think they're played in a way that is timeless, so that you can listen to those songs over and over again, and you're like, well, that doesn't feel like it's going to be dated. I feel like that's something that we could pull out in 20 years and go, that is a great record.
Well, on your deserted island, you're not preserving anything.
Okay.
So everybody else still gets to have Let It Be and Abbey Road and all. So we're not.
Yeah.
You don't have the last copy, and it's got to be so.
Like the Book of Eli, where I've got to like walk it through. And,
right.
Yeah. Okay.
If you land in my place in the desert island, you can maybe get out in time and you can go back to a store and buy it. But
okay.
Assholes. All right, last one. And this isn't who you think is or is deserving. It is your Jerry McBroom's personal Mount Rushmore. So there is no wrong answer to it.
Okay.
It's just who you personally think goes up on in your backyard Rushmore.
Right. Just be prepared because he's super judgy in his.
He's gonna argue with me about it.
Just be prepared.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm glad you clarified because I do think that there's Mount Rushmore artists that need to be there just because of the influence that they've had over the whole genre of rock music, right?
Absolutely.
So like the Beatles and the Stones, those kind of things.
Like for me, I would put on the music Rushmore, I would say Elvis goes up on his face is chiseled in Rushmore.
Okay.
For mine personally, he doesn't make the top 5,000.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand him.
Gotcha. Right.
So.
Okay. I'll have dumb stuff.
I love it.
Okay. All right. So for the way that I'm thinking about this is artists that were super impressionable to me in my own formation of becoming a musician.
Yep.
And it's because you know what you know at those ages, right? And so Kiss is going to be on my Mount Rushmore because when I was a young kid trying to figure out how to play, that was an artist that I was looking to left and right, and I was, anytime that I could get any kind of screen time in front of me back in the day before YouTube and the internet and stuff where I could watch someone play, I was watching Don Kirshner's rock concert and I was watching Midnight Special on Fridays and Saturday nights, and I would be watching Kiss and I'd be watching what they're doing. So they're one for sure. Can a group be one?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Kiss is one. I'm gonna say Queen is another.
Why?
Freaking loved Queen because of the. I think I was drawn to these power bands that could play and make these big sort of sounds happen. You know what I mean? I wanted something, and I think when I was impressionable, there was something about the larger than life sort of theatric thing that I aspired to at that time, and so they were super important to me when I was younger. I used to listen to them, and the thing about Queen is that if you bought a Queen album, you weren't just buying a rock album. I mean, they were doing these songs that sounded like super campy, and some of them were like really jazzy with the drummer playing brushes and stuff. So I was like, so as this like young rock drummer, I'm like, what is happening? I can't count to 4 to it, and those don't sound like drumsticks. And so that was I think I learned some stuff from them. So that's going to be number 2. Number 3 is going to be Led Zeppelin, because I think they wrote the Bible on just straight ahead hard rock. There's this drumming ethos that I subscribe to, and it's basically playing drums from the bottom up. And what that means is that all this stuff you can do with your hands is totally good, but if your music's going to be grounded and sort of have any sort of like power to it, it's got to come from the bottom up. All this stuff like Keith Moon, where he's playing all this stuff, is fine, but it wasn't my style. I wanted to hear something that was super powerful, that was anchored and solid, and John Bonham is the epitome of that. I think he pretty much invented that in my mind. So Led Zeppelin is super important, and I'm going to go with a dark horse. There's a guy named Rich Mullins, who is the most honest songwriter that I've ever heard. He's a Christian artist, talks about the doubts that he has and the struggles that he has, and things not always being good and shiny, and trying to struggle with that, about where God is in the midst of those kind of things. And super important for me to listen to a guy struggle in that way, and echo some of my own struggles. And so there's other artists do that as well, but he was the guy for me that I was like, well, if he could struggle and be on the path, I can too. So I like him. That's
Jerry. Jerry has a thing to where you may not recognize this right here. So you might recognize him now.
Actually, this is how you see me.
Yeah, that's Jerry. That's how you see him, because I always block his pictures. Thank you for doing that.
Hey man, thank you for having me. It was fun.
It's fun that we've played together for a long time, and you don't. It's kind of funny, like you learn something from somebody that's stared at your ass as long as you have, and I've learned something about you today.
Well, good.
I lived with her and learned that she was wrong about 5 or 6 different things.
So. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Bekka, thanks for sitting in with us on this thing.
Thanks for having me.
That made it fun. All right.
Later.